Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting LLC for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. In the studio today, Kellie, is it Syfan? Syfan?
Yeah.
Syfan.
Syfan, like you're stealing gas.
Like
You'll
you're
never
stealing
forget
gas. Okay. That was my first instinct. And
Yep.
I even thought, like, is that even how you spell Syfan? Because my dyslexic ass was like, I don't even know.
Hey, dyslexic party.
What's up? What? There we go. Yeah. So I've got to shout out Amanda Jordan and Kat Fleetwood, because without the combination of the two of them, I wouldn't even know what a BNI is, let alone a quick Facebook message with a, yeah, you should just come if you don't have anything going on.
Definitely.
I would never have been to was it the Youngsville Gun and Country Club? Just Gun Club.
It is the Youngsville Gun Club and Range.
Okay, Youngsville Gun Club. Also want to shout them out. Seemed like a beautiful facility. I don't know if listeners are into guns or in the area, but selection very small, range looked gorgeous. But they have a massive room where I'm assuming they do the classroom paperwork side of all their gun training, and they let the BNI use it. Excuse me. And there was a food truck, and that's how we meet.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to shout both of them out, because this doesn't happen without them, and it's proof that the networking really does work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, the RD11 group has been really, really cool.
Okay, so what is that?
So that's the BNI group specifically that we met at.
Oh, that's like y'all's number, RD11. Okay. Does that stand for Raleigh Durham? No.
Maybe.
Because you're not in Raleigh or Durham.
I'm gonna say yes, because that sounds good, but I can't guarantee it.
Okay. Because none of those people are in Raleigh or Durham. So
yeah, it's true.
Maybe that's just a random designation by BNI.
Sure. Could be.
So that was my first BNI. I was not prepared.
Yeah.
I did not know that it was like a formal, we're all going to look at this PowerPoint situation.
Sure.
Because all of my networking has been like, we're kind of doing a bar takeover. Come have a drink, throw on a name tag, and, tell us what you're working on and bring business cards. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm an introvert, so it's working on my social life skills, my businessing skills, my networking skills, like all of it. But yeah, that BNI was like, very formal, businessy, and I was not prepared.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's one of those, like, you're going to have your time. We're all going to focus on you, which can be nerve-wracking. And unlike other networking, where you never get that time to get everybody's attention, it can be very like, oh, wow, everybody's really interested in what I got.
Yeah, yeah. How long have you been in that group?
I've been in the group for a couple of months now. So not super, super long.
Okay. Are you from the area?
Originally? No, originally California.
Oh, cool. What part?
Yeah. Central Coast.
Okay. I lived in Santa Cruz for 2.5 years before I moved here. Honestly, I only miss the In-N-Out. It's the only thing. That's the only thing I'm missing.
Yeah. I do miss the weather, certainly. And, there's a lot of nostalgia having grown up in a place.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
In-N-Out is also delightful.
Yeah, like the nostalgia I get when I go back to Highland, New York, zero of that is felt by the people I bring there when they're like, dude, this is a deli. And I'm like, no, it's the deli. And they're like, no, it's just a deli. It's boar's head and ham. Like, and I'm like, no, you don't get it.
It's my deli.
Yeah, but it's exactly. Yeah. I was like, no, this was my pizza place. Like, I had to pay in quarters. Like, this is where my scout troop went. Yeah. But nobody cares. It doesn't transfer at all.
Yeah.
So what brought you from California to here?
Sure. So I had a couple stops along the way. I lived in Texas for a while, then Colorado. And I ended up getting a job out here. When I was getting my certification work done, you have to do, I think it was 1,500 hours of supervised work, and I found a supervisor out here.
And what's your certification?
Sure. I'm a board-certified behavior analyst.
Okay. Yeah, so when I heard that at the BNI, I was like, okay, I might need to hire her for my own personal life. But then also, I need podcast guests, and maybe she's owned a home. Who knows? Yeah. So I guess I'll jump into anything that could be related, and then I'd love for you to do a little self-promotion as well. Do you own a home out here?
I do,
okay.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
30 acres.
You have 30 acres?
Yes, and 2 houses on the property.
How did you build any of them when you bought it, or was it already built?
No, all built. We are in renovations right now for a rental, and we're in construction for a garage bottom floor, office top floor, so that I can have all my kiddos have an indoor space when I'm seeing them too.
Okay. So you're... let's dissect them one at a time. You mentioned a rental. Is that on the property or just like some house you bought that you're renting out?
It is really nearby. So it feels like it's on the property.
Okay. And is that like a single family home or and what's the extent of like what you're doing for that?
Sure. So it was a situation of, and I don't want to get too far in other people's business. It was a situation of helping someone out that recognized they needed to no longer be living in this place, and they didn't want to go through all the hassle of showings and, everything. So they approached us and said, hey, can we agree on a price? Can we move forward? And that was really good for being able to help someone we cared about. It was really good for us being able to go, okay, this is a direction that we want to take, how we're moving forward in our lives. And it's been a lot of going through years of that person living in this space alone, and how do we take that into a space that can be lived in by multiple people, knowing that there was already the room there, it just hadn't been used that way.
What was it being used for?
And again, I'm treading lightly because I don't want to give other people's information.
Yeah, don't give anybody's name. Yeah, it's just like what was. When you say it was, the space was there, but it wasn't being used, so it was a house that had bedrooms. The bedrooms were being used as something else, storage or an office?
Yeah. The original plan for the home was for a full family, and one of the adults in the home became very ill and passed away before the home could be finished.
Okay.
And that was a number of years ago, like decades ago.
Okay.
And so there's that piece of living in the space where your partner has passed, and having not completed that project that you had a dream for together, and watching our friend live in that space and then find at a certain point in their life that it was time for them to no longer live in that space, and being able to help them make that transition out. And then again, going, okay, now we've got this space that has been partially completed. It has this dream still living inside of it. How do we help it get to the next level?
I literally feel like you're describing the first 5 minutes of every single episode of Hoarders.
Interesting.
Like every single episode of Hoarders, usually it boils down to like the hoarding was the reaction of somebody not being able to correctly grieve and process the passing or like the death of a loved one.
Yeah. Luckily, this wasn't a hoarding situation. There was certainly some items left behind that were a little heart-wrenching, for sure. But it wasn't a hoarding situation. It was simply this piece of the project isn't complete yet.
Okay, so it's basically just like you're getting construction halfway.
Exactly.
Kind of situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can make a deal with this person. Sounds like there's a combination of previous relationship / friendship / geography helps out a little bit, because if you live close by and they're like, hey, this would work for you, you can't just offer that to a stranger.
Sure.
Because I'm sure they took a cut if they had tried to get max money. And there's also a deal for y'all as if you, from the investment side.
Sure.
Like,
very well could be.
You know, I'm sure you got it cheaper than if you had to add realtors and fight off other investors. And
yeah, I imagine if you had
things.
lawyers and all the overhead, it certainly
everybody
would come
gets a
out
slice. Yeah, none of that. No people sign those documents for free. So when you start adding a lawyer and a realtor, not to mention you could have been competing against other investment people who see the like, oh, it's already halfway done. I can just finish it off like
Sure.
we know how. You know, for me, like, that would be convenient. Like, oh, the wires are done and roughed in. I just got to sheetrock this or whatever it might have been. I'm just kind of spitballing here.
Absolutely.
So you purchase this, and then you basically go in and, like, the plan, you're not like altering much. I'm assuming, but also please correct me, you're trying to do as little as possible to get it from half construction to just livable and turn it into how do we make income.
Yes, and this won't be surprising that the first plan we went through, the first GC we went through, which of course I won't mention their name, didn't exactly pull through.
Let's keep the shout outs positive. So
the
guys who did the good jobs, I want their names.
Yes,
but the bad guys, we'll just let them slide on through.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's been
But I want to hear about the
process
of how it didn't work out. So
sure.
You bring in a GC. How do you find that GC?
So my partner was the person who found that GC, phenomenal gentleman. And when he was involved in the project, wonderful. When the bigger projects took priority and it was just his subcontractors coming in, they no longer had that direction. They no longer had that leader. That's where you start seeing the corners getting cut. That's where you start seeing things fall
he
through.
stopped project managing.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, that's literally the only reason he gets the 20% on top. So why?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Why use? Yeah. Your GC needs to be more than just a Rolodex of subcontractors. If you're not gonna double check and go in front and behind and in the middle of their work, you're not doing your job. You should be charging people 5%, So yeah, that makes, even me with my foot problems 2 days ago, I had my roofer hold that ladder while I climbed up there and looked at his skylights and they looked great. And then I was very scared getting down the ladder, but you have to do it.
Sure.
Like,
absolutely.
if otherwise I might as well get a desk job and just give out the roofer's number.
Yeah.
So So he just simply got busier, got bigger, and in his eyes, more important jobs. Because obviously to you, this was more important because it's your job.
Yeah.
And
I've got a bias to it.
Yeah, the correct bias. It's your job. It's your money. Yeah. It's hard to make money, and you're spending it on this. And it's a long-term investment for you, like most real estate is, and especially when you're getting into the rental game, it's even longer. So he just kind of stopped caring. So
that's how it felt. Certainly, I can't say exactly where he was coming from, whether it was an overwhelm or a lack of care or a reprioritization. But we certainly fell to the back burner, and it showed.
Okay, so the ways that it showed are. Help me fill in the blank. Like, are things taking longer? Is just the sub showing up and he's not there?
Oh, no, he wasn't there for months. Lack of communication, their sub showing up, doing things differently than is to code. Permitting processes coming through and going, hey, or rather inspections going, hey, this is totally bonkers. Or one subcontractor coming in before another, so completing their job, but they needed to wait until this was completed so that can be done, so having to redo work. All those, just lack of management sort of things.
Yeah. I'm familiar with all of it.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay, so at what point as the homeowner do you go, all right, enough's enough, you're gone, we need a new GC?
Sure. So for us, it was the point where we were missing communication for an amount of time. And, we both gave it a go on let's, put together our punch list. Let's give our highest priorities. Let's try to get things back on track a couple different times. And when we were met with a complete lack of communication, like, okay, well, then we're going to have to end this.
Just no reply.
Otherwise. Yeah.
Just like, here's the
Good
punch
old
list
ghosting.
and just ghost.
Yep.
And I'm assuming he had another check coming when it was done that he just walked away from.
Chose not to. Yeah.
Man. Okay.
Yeah, it's, as I said, I can't speak to his priorities, but it certainly shifted during the project.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've had it happen to me with subs, and what's interesting for me is I've had it with subs 100% ghost, but then like 3 months later, they'll text me like, hey, you got anything going? Like, do you need, like, can I be your sub for?
This is cute.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, tons of stuff, but I wouldn't hire you again if you gave me a 50% discount. Like, I can't afford to take that risk.
Sure.
Because all of your actions, you don't care how they affect me. And it makes me, the only one dealing with the customer, look like an idiot. And in an industry, for me personally, where, if, in my opinion, no matter what you do on the internet, word of mouth is all that really matters, then I can't have a customer left with a terrible taste in their mouth because my block sub decided to quit in the middle of the job, and now I look like a moron.
Yeah.
So it just, like, I can't even remember his last name, but some guy named Jimmy, he actually did like quite a few good jobs for me. Yep. And then on one job, like, it just, he wouldn't come fix the few mistakes that were not even big mistakes.
Sure.
It was like, hey man, you're a framer, and these little things have happened and I need them adjusted, and you're missing a bracket or two. Like, I need you to come back for 3 hours, whatever. And it, and it happened. The same guy for another GC that I'm friends with, he had the same issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
R.I.P. You start to get that reputation.
Yeah. R.I.P. to my buddy Kent, who was a GC, when he was still with us, and he had the same issues with the guy. And I was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what? Just, you got to finish the work.
Sure. Sure.
And Kent even told me, he was like, I didn't even need him for a lot. Like, I needed to come back for a couple hours. This was off, missing not a big deal. Yeah. And, just like being questioned that it was wrong, I guess, or whatever was going on in that guy's head. I don't know. Like you said, you don't know what's going on in your contractor's head, but you know how it feels on your side.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So how do you find
got a strong feeling on my side?
Yeah. So how do you find the second GC?
Sure. Honestly, BNI.
BNI.
Yeah.
Is it her who I can't remember?
ERA Structures. Emily Albers and her husband Ed. It's going with a group of people. Actually, they're doing our new project on the other side. Amanda of Red 22 is helping out, finish out, because it's just, there's that little punch list of things that just needs to get done to close the permit. And we knew exactly what it was because we've had a number of inspections come back with the same things that need to get done. And we brought it to them knowing that they'd already been vetted by the whole group, and it's just been a joy.
Yeah, I'm hopefully gonna get my first project that I'll be using Amanda and Aaron for, because they got hired to do something and realized they were just not, they needed a licensed GC, and I was like, I can do that. Let's go. And you can be my carpenters, just like you want to do. So I'm just basically waiting on some HVAC numbers to put together a bid for this client of their/ours. But, I have all the confidence in the world that Red 22 will do a perfect job.
Oh yeah. They've been an absolute joy to work with. Communication has been great. It's been wonderful.
No, it's so easy communicating with both of them. They're on time. They care, and their work, I've only seen the pictures, but it's enough.
Yeah.
Like it's enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like if that's what you're doing, we're good. I could, yeah, like I can. Well, let's roll the dice.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah, for sure.
All will be well.
Yeah. So the BNI network kind of bails you out when you need that carpenter and that GC, and because of that. And the success, it sounds like, of the rental, they're now doing your garage and workshop. That's one, right? So you didn't even bother with like the Google search. You just went right to the
No, it's and even if I didn't have those people within the group that I joined, now I've got the whole BNI network to go through. But having them right there, and especially, sitting down and talking with them one-on-one and spending that time early on to go, oh, this is a personality match too. Okay. And these are people that I'm going to see weekly. So there's no chance they can have a lack of communication because we're both going to show up at the same meeting. It was an insurance policy of sorts, and it made it really easy to just move forward. That
makes sense. Yeah. Because you already have, I mean, you make a good point about like personalities matching. Because there is a point when you boil stuff down, and this is kind of every profession, at least in my opinion, when you boil it down to what are they providing, there's a lot of people providing the same stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
So like, let's take my brother, for example. He's a bond broker dealer. So like when you boil it down, he learned a language and he clicks stuff, and he's the intermediary between A and B. Like that's a dime a dozen, but his clients use and love using him because of his personality. Yeah. He sells his personality. I'm cool, I'm fun, I'm reliable, I'll be there for you. So you want to do your trading with me. And he's like super successful.
Yeah.
So in a way, like, I'm kind of similar, when I come to your house to look at a project, like, yes, obviously this is, in the not boiled down, you want to see some pictures and some reviews and whatever. But when you boil down past that whole screen smoke show or whatever, like I'm the same as a lot of equally qualified contractors. You know what I mean? So it's like, did you vibe with me or did you not? If you didn't, you should find the one you vibe with. So, and it's probably the same for you as is counselor the right word?
I usually will say behavior therapist.
Behavior therapist.
Yeah, that just seems to fit the best for me.
Okay, cool. But I'm sure it's the same for that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like you went to great schooling, and you were given the metaphorical toolbox with all the tools of how to deal with what's going on.
Yeah.
But another behavioral therapist has the same toolbox. So it's how you can communicate with each other and how you vibe with each other. Like that goes so far.
Absolutely. And if somebody's looking for more like a standard talk therapy, I'm going to refer them out immediately.
Right.
Right. You want to be seen in an office and not on a farm? Oh, let me refer you out. Or the other thing I'll see is people will be like, I just need you to fix my kid and to have them stop doing this thing, period. That is my goal. Make them stop. Okay, that can be a goal, but I may not be your best fit. You may be looking for somebody who's a little bit more, I don't have a good word for it. The best word I'm coming up with is like strong arm sort of style. Like we're going to do it my way or the highway, and that's not going to be me. And that's okay. If that's not the style you're looking for, I'll refer you out. No big deal.
So transitioning into that, how did you get into that world? Did you know at a young age you wanted to go into school for that?
No. I was interested in farming and ranching.
Okay.
And got in that direction when I went to university. I'd planned to go into veterinary medicine.
Okay.
Physics was a toughie for me. I had the kindest teacher that was also working on learning English while he was teaching. He was trying so hard and I was trying so hard, and we could not meet in the middle, and I could not figure out physics at all. And I went, you know what, maybe veterinary medicine isn't for me.
Well, physics is hard.
It's tough. Yeah. It's tough. Yeah.
I remember because I don't know, for some reason my school did it weird where freshman year in high school we took conceptual physics, which was like dumber down physics.
Okay.
And that was like so fun.
Yeah.
Mass and speed, and he's like bringing in a sledgehammer and like glass and like showing videos of like how a guy can stand on a thing of tacks because of the pressure disbursement. And it was like really, really fun. And then senior year, get to regular physics, and it's not fun.
All the fun is gone.
The fun is gone, and it's so much harder. And I was like, whoa, this is not like yeah. And I had a lot of trouble with that.
Yeah.
And numbers
tough.
are like my thing.
Yeah.
And it was just different, I guess. Yeah. So I get it for sure.
Yeah.
I am confused though why you need physics to care for animals.
Yeah, I wasn't certain, but it was a prerequisite, and you can't get away from those.
Okay. So this was not just like your science credit. You had to do it.
It was a part of I got accepted into the biomedical program, and it was a part of that program.
Okay. Biomedical. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you can't get through physics, you got to pivot.
Yeah, so I passed, but barely, and I went, you know what? Let me see what other options are out here. And it just so happened, I went to Texas A&M University, go Aggies. We had this program where you could kind of design your own undergraduate degree, and so I was able to do a concentration in leadership and agriculture studies, and then minors in business administration and creativity and cognition studies, which sounds like a whole ton of words because it is. But I was going, okay, entrepreneurship sounds really cool. This feels like the sort of entrepreneur's degree of sorts, and they let me do it, which was awesome. Then after that, when I was working on my grandfather's ranch, I got my master's in education, realized very quickly that the classroom was not where I wanted to be, and sort of fell into another situation where I was on a rescue ranch working with the horses, but then there were these group homes coming in and veterans coming in and all sorts of different people receiving therapy there. And I saw that crossover and went, okay, this is something. This is cool. I need a little bit more training to be able to do this effectively. And that sort of started me on my journey. So it was very serendipitous. A lot of hop, skip, and jumping around.
My pops loves to use that word, serendipity, all
the
time. Yeah, when he talks about how he found his career, it's like he loves to throw that word around. Yeah,
it's a fun one.
It's an easy way to just kind of throw your hands up and be like, it happened because it was supposed to happen. I don't know what else to say. Yeah. So what exactly do you do?
Sure. Yeah. So a behavior analyst focuses on how do we make socially significant changes in life. So going through, mostly I work with kids, and often the parents will call in when they've got tantrums and meltdowns, when they've got a fear or phobia, or when they've got behaviors resulting from trauma. And my big focus is on how do we figure out what are these socially significant changes we can make. So what are the things in your life that are going to make it better? And we can make a significant change in that direction. And then how do we get there effectively and beautifully? So I can do it, bluntly, effectively and quickly, and in a way that nobody really enjoys, but we get there, or I can do it in a way that's really beautiful. And that's been my big focus for my career is how do we do this in a way where if the local judge, my mom, and the news media were watching, they'd all go, holy smokes, this is a beautiful intervention, and you're making a big difference in this kid's life, instead of, are you sure this is cool? This seems kind of forceful, or, having big questions about it.
Do you think you've gotten there?
It's a step every day.
Okay.
One of the things that made a huge change in when I went from more classic behavior analysis into my version of behavior therapy was having parents be involved no matter what, and knowing that they were calm and engaged and happy with every intervention I was using. I could always check in with them, meant that I had that oversight instead of like, okay, we're just trying to make this work in a classroom or in an office space. Having them out on the farm, having those eyes watching and going, everybody here is so glad to be here. That's when you know you're getting close.
You
and hopefully you're there.
Exclusively work out on your farm?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
I do have a couple of clients that I will see in home or I will meet in a school, but generally if I'm bringing on a client, that they're going to be based on the farm.
Oh, okay. Cool. So is it food or animals, your farm, or both?
It is both.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So are you like are the animals involved in the
definitely.
therapeutic process?
Yeah, the plants, the animals, the land, the whole 9 yards. So we've got a flock of ducks that go from about 50 to 100, depending on the time of year. A number of geese that are in with them. They're all hand-fed, ready to hang out with you. Chickens, rabbits, goats, horses, barn cat, and a couple of farm dogs. So there's a lot of critters around.
Nice.
Then you have all the wild animals around too. And they provide so many opportunities for learning that you just couldn't get otherwise.
So is that like farm animal, I don't know, knowledge or love, for lack of a better word?
Mm-hmm.
Is that deep rooted like in family or from a childhood, or did you just kind of see that along the way as that opportunity when you saw the veterans at that, I believe you said it was like a horse barn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rescue ranch for
the rescue ranch,
wild
right.
and abused horses. I always had a love of animals. And then my grandfather had a ranch that I
you did
visited
say
growing
that
up.
earlier. Yeah.
Then I was involved in Future Farmers of America, good old FFA.
Did you have
all
like
the good
cats and
stuff.
dogs growing up and stuff?
Definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was also the one that would be like, I found a hurt snake. My mom would be like, that is not coming in the house. Like, what are you talking about, Mom? It's only 4 feet long.
It's so funny how like it changes over time. Like when I first met my sister-in-law, my brother brought her on the family camping trip, like Adirondacks, no power, no
fun.
cell phone,
Yeah.
on an island on a lake, tent,
Loving
like
it.
real,
Yes.
real camping. Because unfortunately, is the only way my dad could actually unplug is when you have no choice.
Yeah.
Because he's a workaholic. I love you, Dad. But like Emma couldn't take it. Because like daddy long legs were like crawling up her legs. And she's freaking out. And now I see my sister-in-law on Instagram. She'll just in the paddock with her cow, with her horse, and her multiple donkeys. And she'll be walking, videoing herself. And then she'll be like, oh. And she'll just pick up a snake by the back of its head, like a big snake. And she'll be like, look what I just found, chilling. And she's fearless now. And I'm like, what happened? That's not the same person.
Yeah.
It's like 15, 20 years ago. But still, it's like, it's incredible to see how it just like couldn't handle daddy long legs crawling up her leg. In her defense, like daddy long legs crawling up your leg in the middle of the night while we're on we're at a picnic table trying to play cards. Not ideal.
Not ideal.
But still, it's the daddy long legs.
Yeah.
But like to go from that to just like, without even just picking up the snake. Oh, found a snake. No big deal. It's the size of my leg.
Yeah.
Let me get it out of the paddock away from the horse. No big deal.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see the progression. Yeah. And it's cool to watch like my two nieces and my nephew. Like I get to watch how they interact with these animals.
Yeah.
And I'm not a behavioral therapist by any means, but I can just see like, oh, there's an ingrained love of all living things now that they have just
it's
by
pretty cool.
Yeah, and he's like, Alistair is 6 now, so I can just be like, oh, should we go look at the horse? And be like, yeah, and he'll like know its name, grab an apple, know how to go into the paddock fence, like fearless. But then even at 6, he can basically tell like, oh, this might not be a good time to go in there, like they're eating or like don't walk from behind to the horse. Like he knows it already.
Yep. He's got the skills for safety regulation. He's building skills for empathy. He's building skills for being able to co-regulate with the people and animals around him. There's so many incredible skills that are built that you just described in that moment. Yeah. That you can't really get otherwise. Yeah.
And you see them as the skills because of your profession. I just see him as like, oh, that's a well-rounded kid.
Yes.
Like that's what should be like from, that's, I got that from when my scout troop went and took us to this farm. I grew up with multiple dogs, multiple cats, and a chicken coop that laid us eggs, but they weren't, we would have just been feeding wild foxes if we let them be free range. So we had to have like slave chicken coop chickens.
I hear that.
Yeah. But my friend Ernie literally said that to my parents, like, why you got your chickens all slaved up? And
goodness gracious.
He was just being a jerk. Yeah. We were dumb college kids. And my dad, without skipping a beat, was like, well, I'm not feeding the fox population and the coyote population. Do you know where we are?
That's actually a really interesting thing we talk about a lot on the farm, the balance between safety and freedom. Like, how do we establish that for ourselves? How are we establishing that for the animals? And how does that relate to our life as we move forward? And that's a big debate for everybody, especially in a democracy, that we need to feel out for ourselves and be able to have kind conversations about. So when we get stuck in that place of, I can't talk about this, this is too much heat, then we have a lot of push between different groups of people. And we've seen that the last couple of years.
For sure. 2 blinks of an eye ago, we were living in like a tent fighting off leopards in the wild. So, and like now we have like houses with air conditioning. So it's like, we in our DNA, we were defending ourselves from like all of nature for most of history. And now just recently we've kind of like separated it in like the last couple hundred, maybe to 1,000 years.
Absolutely.
It's like that DNA is in there, and those animals didn't just vanish. Obviously, some of them did, Ice Age and stuff like that. But like animals are still here. Wild animals, and they're dangerous. And the respect for how to interact with them is not being taught as regularly,
Absolutely.
At least like in school, I was never taught about any of that.
And something to consider too, if our bodies are primed genetically to be able to react to true danger, and then we never, as a child, run into true danger, the thing that feels most dangerous will feel like the truest danger. So when I talk to families about this, like, why does my kid care about, their shoes so much? This is so silly. I'm like, well, them not being able to find that shoe is the biggest trauma they've ever experienced. Hopefully it'll be a very short-term one, but that's the biggest thing your 2-year-old has ever run into. Well, now when we're moving forward, if the hardest thing they've ever run into is not being able to find their shoes, of course they're going to have a big reaction to that. They're going to have there's a wolf reaction to that, because genetically we are predisposed to have reactions to dangerous things.
So I can rationally hear you say everything you just said, because I'm not a parent and I'm never going to be one.
Sure.
But like I'm trying to think as a parent, and I'm like, well, there's no way I'm going to intentionally give my kid more trauma to get over the shoe.
We don't want to traumatize, but we do want to have exposure to the world. If we sit in our bubble, then anything outside of that bubble is traumatizing, is scary.
That's so contrary to that like protective mama papa bear energy of like, this is my kid and don't come within 3 feet and safety chair and use car seats, everybody. I'm just like making a point.
By all means, safety first.
Absolutely safety first. They're like, don't misinterpret it, but I'm just saying like that's hard. That's a hard Venn diagram to live in, that overlapping section of like, we're not causing trauma, but I want to expose my kid to enough danger that losing a shoe is not a thing. Because that's in the real world, that kid does not survive if he can't get over losing a shoe at 26.
Well, I think it's really interesting that you brought the example of your sister-in-law earlier, because that's exactly what happened. She reacted like a wolf to the little spider, and now she's reacting like nothing to the snake. She habituated to the different dangers, and by having more experience in her life, and again, not traumatic experience, just more experience, she was able to figure out, oh, here are the true dangers in my life. Here's where I can, perhaps feel fear but maintain calm. Here are the points where, this big emotion comes up and I need to acknowledge it at its full volume right now. But being able to go from the snake is terrifying, or rather the spider is terrifying, to the snake is not, is exactly that skill set of exposure, and going through knowing that you're safe and knowing that you have people around you who will support you through those moments are integral for kids. So that's a lot of what I'm doing on the farm, is let's do things that feel a little bit intimidating, feel a little bit scary, but know that you have all the support you need to get through this moment and that you can do hard things.
So you've created a unique environment where you have the ability to talk to a kid and the family, because you probably need more information from a kid, especially, or from the parents rather, at a certain age.
Absolutely.
Hard to talk to a 2-year-old and really know what's going on. So you have the ability to get the information and then be like, okay, we've got to push that boundary just this much, but we're going to do it on the farm in a controlled, safe environment by having him, I don't know, feed a cow, because the cow's so much bigger than him and it's intimidating. See if he can get a little closer. Or I'm just, a very random example that it may or may not be true, but something like that to then, it be clearly dangerous to the 2-year-old, but clearly safe in your setting in a controlled environment.
And something to consider there is some of the most dangerous things for small kids are going to be I'm left alone, or I don't have the attention that I want right now, which are similar. They're kind of opposite sides of the same coin. So when we go forward and we have, hey, we need to step into, if you want to go see the goats, we have to go over to the goats. And then it's the goat's choice whether or not they come up to us. Well, in that moment, if they choose not to, do the goats not care about me? Do they not love me? Does everything go wrong in my life? You know, you've got all these different feelings that can come up that thing that I want to connect with in this moment does not want to connect with me in the way that I want to connect with it. And in that, we can talk about consent. We can talk about, oh man, their body is telling them that they need to go eat right now. Does your body need any water? Like this is not a judgment of whether or not you're worthy to pet the goat. This is just the goat has chosen something different than what we'd like. How do we work through that moment? And that in itself can be a very dangerous feeling moment. If we think about
for sure, I'm 32 and I still have to figure out how to process anger when something happens and then be like, okay, dude, you can't control other people. So you've got to just accept that dude blew you off for the podcast and go watch some TV, and just hit the gym and jump in the cold plunge and get over with it. And just and I'm 32 and working on it. So I could, at 2, it's harder. It's gotta be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting too, when I get the real young ones, like 2-year-olds versus when I get, say, an 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old that hasn't established those skills. It looks very different when it's in a much bigger body, It's not as safe at that point. Those reactions have had a lot of time to be reinforced.
What do you mean it's not as safe at that point?
So if I've got a 2-year-old that punches when they're upset, no big deal. If I've got a 15-year-old that punches when they're upset, I might have a broken nose.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
just
it's
the
a very
physical
careful
size of okay.
It's a very careful balance. Right. And also, volume will be louder now. A 2-year-old, getting upset, having a tantrum, probably not going to have the police called. 15, maybe.
Right.
We've got more things that we need to balance to make sure that we're not setting things way, way off, that we're not pushing too far, that they are saying where their boundary is and we're going, okay, I'll walk up to that boundary with you.
What's your age range?
Right now, my youngest is around 2, and my oldest that I'm serving is adult. The oldest I've ever had was in their 80s.
Oh, so everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So it's more about if you can do it.
Yes, specific behaviors.
Recommend to somebody different for a better specialty.
Sure, yes. Specific diagnosis that take certain types of treatment that do really well. For example, DBT, which is dialectical behavior therapy, is not something that I'm trained in, but there's a number of diagnoses that are treated really well with DBT, so I'll refer out for that.
So what are the diagnoses? Did I say that right?
I have no idea.
Okay. What
diagnosi?
Are the diagnosi?
I have no clue in this moment. Yeah. It's that pressure of grammar.
Yeah, which I'm the worst at. Yeah. I talk the way I text, which is awful. What are the diagnoses or diagnosi that you specialize in?
Sure. So the field of behavior analysis has been rooted in working with all sorts of different special needs, especially autism as a diagnosis. I have a ton of experience with autism, and then I see a number of traumatic brain injury, PTSD, genetic disorders. What are my other big ones? Fears, phobias, that's going to be on the anxiety spectrum. Obsessive compulsive disorder, also on the anxiety spectrum, as is PTSD. Those are going to be my biggies. But a lot of folks, again, don't have a diagnosis or just going through a challenge. So insurance won't cover what they want to have covered. So coming to me when I've got a sliding scale and can kind of work with people, often we're able to get stuff done that they wouldn't be able to get otherwise.
Okay, yeah, I haven't even begun to thought about the insurance side of this.
Yeah, and insurance is a thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. I had foot surgery, and they actually gave me the surgery telling me it was covered, and then it wasn't covered after the fact, and I was excuse me? And they're like, well, your insurance got canceled. And I was like, so you canceled my health insurance without telling me, and then gave me a surgery that was covered without telling me I wasn't covered? And my friend Taylor was like, they legally have to run your insurance. Don't let them get away with that. And I had to, long story short, I had to like fight through the doc, an insurance company, and a third party.
Sure.
And basically get like retroactive coverage instated for the months past.
Yeah.
Pay for that retroactive coverage because this was all due to an expired credit card. All this crap was just due. They canceled the insurance for an expired credit card.
Oh, goodness.
Instead of a phone call.
Yeah.
So, once I like got an insurance person on the phone, they were like, they canceled it after 2 months for an expired credit card. And she immediately was like, we're supposed to give 3 months notice. That's not allowed. And I was like, I needed you this whole time. Can you put that in writing? She was like, oh, I'm fixing this right now. Like, I was like, oh, finally. Yeah. But it was a process. Yeah. And the forms and the packets and like, as everybody listening and when you're dealing with anything insurance or government related, they unnecessarily make it harder to read, more stuff to click, more stuff to fill out, just to like try to get you to give up.
It's a business, and it's not a business plan or setup. I'm not quite sure the word I'm looking for, but the way they do it, I don't love.
No,
I recognize
nobody
it's a business, but I don't appreciate, which is why I work outside of insurance. So I recognize that they are making sure that they get paid. Again, they're a business. Totally makes sense. But also going through, and they're the ones that get to say what the family's goals are. So I get to put forward what I think the goals should be, working with the family. Hey, I think it should be these things. But when I do what's called pre-authorizing, so I have to get the okay before I can go forward, and they say exactly how much I can work and for how long and all those different things. They can say, no, those aren't the goals you're going to work on, no matter if it's the highest priority of the family or what have you. And that rubbed me a little bit wrong too.
Based on what?
There's a bunch of different things it can be based on. It can
like
be based on specific research. Yep. It can be based on their team decided that that's not something that their insurance covers. They can say that it's outside of my repertoire.
So it's just bureaucratic bullshit.
It very well could be.
Yeah, it's not a real reason.
You'll notice that I'm very hesitant to be like, it's definitely this, because there's so much perspective that I just simply can't take, not having sat in those seats. And
that's
from
a very
this side,
wise. It's a very wise mindset.
I work on it.
It's almost like you do that for a living.
It's weird. It's like value systems, behavior, and stuff. It's like it's what I do. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's bureaucratic bullcrap, but you have a better mindset. But I'm telling you the truth. It's some bureaucratic bullcrap. You're the specialist. You should know exactly.
So what I'm hearing is,
yeah. Tell me how you really feel. Yeah. Should we switch seats? Should I get on the couch? Yeah.
Neither of us would last long. I'm not a talk therapist. I can go through some basic,
go.
Let's talk it out. But then if you can't move it out through your body and find a better solution and move forward, or if you're looking just to vent, I'll send you somewhere else.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, so how do listeners who might have either the child that they are having an issue with or the issue themselves under the categories that you listed earlier get in contact with you and try to work with you?
Sure. So the best way is to go to the website, chbehavior.com. There's a bunch of information on there. There's a number of buttons to schedule a free 30 minutes with me just to talk things out virtually. Let's see if I'm the right fit. If not, we'll refer you out immediately. If it does seem like a good fit, we'll set up a second meeting on the farm. Again, no cost, just to make sure that you're comfortable in that context, because it's way different than going to an office. Let's make sure that it feels good to you. And if it does, great. Then we'll talk about moving from there. If you want to contact me directly, you can call 919-579-6192. Also take texts there, but whatever works best for you.
Awesome. Well, you have all the options for everybody, so introverts and non-introverts alike can do whatever they please. Is there like an Instagram that maybe shows the farm, the animals, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm working on reworking it right now. What I want to do with the Instagram is have probably short videos that are no speech, just videos of the farm, so that anytime somebody who's been to the farm wants to reground and just be like, hey, right now it's stressful, I just wish I was there, they can sit down and just have that to play.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, trying to make it into a tool. That takes time.
That does
take time. I got other things on my plate right now.
And if you, just as a thought, like in my head, some of those videos, I might want them to be longer. throw it up on a free YouTube page.
Exactly.
You know, because you could throw the 5-second clip and then be like, oh, by the way, if you want 20 minutes of just beautiful ducks around the lake, we set up a tripod last week and we threw it on YouTube. You know,
that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So, and YouTube's free, which is just fantastic.
Yeah. Get more resources out. There's not enough resources in the world. The more you can put out for free, the better off you'll be.
Yeah. Yeah. That is true. And in today's world, it is complicated. The algorithms, the social media world, but it is solvable. You know, it's definitely like, and there are pros. You know, if you've got too many people, you probably have somebody in your BNI, and if you don't, I've got the perfect person for you to hire for your social media. You know, so
I have a really tough time with social media. I think, and a lot of people struggle with this. I get into the doom, and I'll just scroll, and then I'll be going, "Why am I scrolling?"
Yep.
And then I keep scrolling. Yep. You know. And that's certainly a behavior that I've noticed in myself and gone, this takes up time. It feels like I'm relaxing. Like I can go, Kellie is relaxing right now. And yet I don't feel relaxed afterwards.
Not true. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very interesting and something I'm analyzing in myself, and it's a forest for the trees situation. You know, I can look at someone else and be like, oh, here's this and that and that, and let's work forward. And then I look at myself and I go, why? Why do I keep scrolling? You know?
Yeah, it's usually easier to point out the ways to fix something for somebody else.
Yeah.
It's so much harder to fix it for yourself.
Can't read the label of a bottle while you're sitting inside of it.
But I mean, it's the same. I find the same thing for me. Scrolling is like, it's like I put on the show I wanted to watch, and then like the 1 second it didn't gather my attention, I go to scroll.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't catch that dialogue. Put the phone down, rewind, play it, and then I'll be like, almost like, not even like, it is an addiction. I'm like itching to grab that phone.
Dopamine hits. Yeah.
Just be like, ooh, what's on? I have 3 different Instagrams. Let's check the other one. And it's the same stuff, you know? It's like, it's definitely, I mean, we as in the human race are addicted to phones. There is just no way to deny it at this point.
Yeah, it's a really interesting phenomenon, especially with kids. And I don't want to shame anyone for giving a screen to kids, because holy smokes, sometimes you just need a break. And
it's also required in this life.
Yeah.
Like who could run a successful small business without a phone?
Oh goodness,
it's not possible.
Yeah.
If it is, right into the show, and I want them on here because I just want to know how.
If you're just using a flip phone.
No,
let me know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I meant no phone, but even a flip
Yeah.
phone would be insane. You know, like you can't cut and paste from a flip phone and just send somebody's phone number. Like it's So I could only imagine attempting to really do it. You know, short of I want to go live in the woods and be a wood guy.
Yeah.
You know, and just live in a handmade treehouse and forage for berries and live an old school caveman life. And there are people like that.
Sure.
But unfortunately, I feel like even those people are setting up a tripod and putting it on YouTube.
Yeah, there is a lot of channels for that. Absolutely. It is an incredible way to connect while disconnecting. You know, there's so many ways that we can talk to people we never would have been able to interact with before, but at the same time, that we talked about genetics earlier, going into the genetics of what does connection mean for humans. Can we genuinely get that through a screen? And I'm sure there will be further research on that, but anecdotally from my experience, we're not.
No way.
Especially with my teens, I'm seeing so many teens that desperately want connection, are trying to use screens to get it, and then are coming through and going, why am I depressed? Why am I dissociating? Why am I disconnected all the time? Like, well, your only form of connection isn't a natural one, and your body isn't set up for that. It's not your fault, and it's kind of the reality we're sitting in. Yeah. So that's a big thing that I work on too.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that the subconscious gears in the brain are seeing a human on a pixelated screen and being like, that's identical to seeing a human in front of us. Like those pixels interact with our eyes different, and those neurons are different. Even if we can't consciously feel the two differences, there's no way that the subconscious gears get those LED pixels of a picture of a FaceTime and are like, that's the same thing. You've connected with your dad. There's no way.
It's really interesting stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's no way. Yeah. And also, I mean, I'm sure we could go down a rabbit hole of people aren't getting enough sunlight, and people aren't getting enough vitamins, people aren't exercising, and people are eating packaged food, and like, you know, plastics in the ocean, and then there's like a laundry list of things that are probably all contributing to, you know, you having more clients, unfortunately. You know, for your business, that's great, but in reality, society would be better if we didn't have any of these issues.
Oh, absolutely.
And needs for
I talk about that
specialists.
often. There's so many different big traumas in the world that have occurred where I'm like, well, I'll never run out of customers, and that couldn't make me sadder, you know, because my big job is to work myself out of a job.
Right.
And there's just a never ending stream of need, and that's really tough. That could be something that can weigh on you.
It's
for
the
sure.
exact opposite for me. Like more people means more houses, means they need me to put extensions on them or build the house or add the deck or whatever. And like, it's only positives for me, you know, short of, you know, a natural disaster damaging a bunch of people's houses and then I have to go rebuild them. Like that sucks, obviously. I haven't been a part of that, you know, knock on wood. But, you know, for me, it's the opposite. You know, a new person moves here, they bought a house, they need it fixed, they needed something added. It's all positives.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting metaphor. It almost feels like the world has had a number of natural disasters for kids in particular.
Well, it has.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
it has.
It doesn't feel like it has. It actually has.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and we're seeing the effects of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm one of the few who kind of skated through COVID with not the biggest issues. I already had a home gym. My work was deemed essential. I had a long-term project already in the middle. So I just like told my subs, like, you're going to go, and when you finish, I'm going to just look at it the next day instead of meeting you. And we're just going to keep it moving. So, and, you know, it was just like not, it sucked, don't get me wrong, but compared to some other people who, like, a family of 4 now had kids who went to school, trapped in the house, mom went to work, trapped in the house, dad went to work, trapped in the house, all not really used to 24 straight hours of being around each other, realizing how much alone time people actually need. And it, you know, it affected a lot more people, a lot worse than me, for sure. And like, you are now dealing with that 2 years later.
Absolutely. Yeah. The rebuilding is going to take a long time.
Yeah.
And it's been, you know, if nothing else, I can offer the farm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can offer a little bit of that outdoors. I can offer some of the exercise. I can offer the in-person connection, and the space for a parent. Because as a parent being able to go, I can watch my child, say, from 50 feet away while sitting on a bench under a pear tree surrounded by ducks, knowing they're safe, being able to see them and getting that space to myself. That's therapeutic in and of itself. Like, let's just have this moment of reconnecting in the way that we need.
Okay, so I got 2 questions. Does every animal have a name?
Yes.
Even the 100 ducks?
Yes.
Okay. Then 3 questions. The second question that just became a new question: how do you tell the ducks apart?
Sure.
The 100 damn ducks.
We've got Muscovy, so they're a bunch of different colors.
Okay. What's Muscovy? I don't know.
Muscovy is a duck that has a red mask.
Okay.
So they've got different shaped masks. They've got different colored beaks, different colored feathers, and different colored scales on their feet.
Okay, cool. See, I'm thinking of like the all white ducks, like Peking duck.
Yes.
You know, and I'm like, how do you tell them apart? That's, for me, that's just lunch, not
We do have a number of white geese that are a little bit difficult to tell apart sometimes.
Okay.
But they've got personality differences, and like the knob on their beak is slightly different, or they've got this one marking, you know, all the different little things you get used to.
Okay, so third question, does the farm have a name?
Yeah, it's Clove Hitch Farm.
Clove Hitch Farm. Cool. I was like, it's got to have a name. Yeah.
Yes.
Clove Hitch YouTube page coming soon.
Yeah, working on it.
No, take your time. It's all, you know,
all in good time.
You used the word serendipity earlier, so it's clearly going to happen when it needs to happen, or when it's supposed to happen, or both. And just let it. I don't know what else to say.
Let go and let it.
Yeah. Let go and let it be it. There's really no, you know, it was totally a joke, and, you know, we were probably intoxicated at the time, but my buddy Ernie and I in college, we would say, everything occurred as it did, which is just like that. It's so dumb, but it's like, yeah, that's accurate. Yeah. But like, it, you know, whether it was really good or really bad, you know, at the end we'd be like, everything occurred as it did, you know, like We could be happy or sad about it, but everything occurred as it did.
Yep.
It is what it is.
That's funny. I like that.
And like we still say that to each other now as idiot adults, but everything occurred as it did. And sometimes, you do everything you can to negate all the negatives, even for me on a construction project, but shit's going to happen, and how you bounce back and professionally deal with it is almost more important than the mistake, because it's going to happen. There's no such thing as like a flawless job with no waste and no mistakes and like no rolled ankles. Like it's,
you win or you learn.
Yeah, you win or you learn. And it's just like, how well can you adapt and, improvise, adapt, and overcome? Whichever military branch has that one, I forget.
I have to ask my husband. He's the military one.
Cool. Yeah, I'm not a military person, but I watch a lot of military movies. I'm sure. I think it's Army, improvise, adapt, overcome. I don't know. Anyway, but you use it in life. My trade, your trade. You need a lot of the same skills.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate you making the trip out here, coming on the podcast. I hope some listeners reach out if they could really use your services. That would be really great. Could you shout out your info one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be chbehavior.com, or you can call or text 919-579-6192.
Awesome. And once again, the Orange Hammer Podcast. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. CRS Contracting, also on all of those. You can shoot me an email, corb@wsdg.com, or you can hit me up on my cell phone, 845-489-6057, if you want to be on the show, you want me to talk about something specific, or you need me to work on your home. So there you go. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.